Hi everyone. Our talk, looking back the high school experience and its influence on biophysics course at the university. For 13 years, I had been teaching biophysics at the medicine school of Universidad Espiritu Santo in Ecuador. My subject is part of the second semester, and every time I get new students, I must use a lot of energy to make them comprehend why physics. I remember when I was teaching in high school in the IB program, a mother who was a doctor told me that she did not understand why I was so strict with her son about physics. If he was going to study medicine, I assumed that many doctors thought, as she did during this time, I was already a professor of this subject at the university. After this happened, I decided to make my students able to answer at the end of the course why they need to study physics. Students learning about the application of physics concepts. For them to do so, classes range from Newton's laws to nuclear physics applications. I stood on Crush's glass so that they could understand the difference between force and pressure. I demonstrated how the acceleration and change of angular moment affect the perception of our senses. Also, I showed them the difference between temperature and thermal conductivity by walking barefoot on red hot coals. It is shown by different experiments how resonance cavities are fundamental in the formation of sounds. As well, it is explained to the students the importance of understanding how the different equipment is used in medicine to perform different diagnoses and treatments work. However, in recent years, I noticed that certain students had a greater predisposition to assimilate these contents and applications, which led me to ask them, where did you attend high school? The school they named were basically the same. This made me question, what do these teachers or institutions do to make students accomplish that? So I contacted the physics teacher of the most mentioned high schools to talk about this experience together. It is gratifying to me to present with Ana Lynch from Montetabor High School in San Borondón to talk about her experience teaching physics.
Hi, my name is Ana Lynch, and I would like to start by thanking the organizers of this event, and I would really like to thank Unidad Educativa Montetabor Nazaret for giving me the opportunity to teach and for my students who have pushed me to be a better teacher along the way and not question but enjoy every single weird experience we've gone through. And finally, I would like to thank my family for encouraging me to try new things. I've been teaching physics for more than 10 years in an IB private institution. I teach to kids from the last 3 years of high school, and in every year, it's a complete different adventure. During the years that I've been a teacher, I've tried to let my students know that physics is much more than contents, and regardless its experimental nature as a science, there are many other applications that it has in real life. Traditionally, schools that follow the International Baccalaureate in Ecuador have their students take a mandatory physics class during the sophomore year and then decide if they want to study physics once they are in their juniors. Thus, those who decide to study physics as part of their IB diploma are looking forward to studying a technical career instead of any other one where they, according to them, physics is not applied. Given this situation, I believe the schools can always be a good platform to show students that physics is beyond Newton, Einstein, and Hopkins. So I want to share with you what are some of the unconventional activities that we were together to change their physics mindset from the beginning and expose them to real physics in real life situations so that finally they can understand why physics. So let's get started. This one that you see over here is the very first activity I do once the students arrive to my class. Traditionally, Ecuador is a country where women are not likely to be found at STEM, so I found really important to show them pictures of both women and men that have contributed to physics in different ways. They are supposed to mention at least one scientist, and just as you can imagine, the common answers are Galileo, Newton, and Einstein. There are some funny answers, though. Once, one of the students said that the first lady at the left was Marie Antoinette. So after they compare answers, I showed them their names and I let them research for 10 minutes of how these people have contributed to physics. Once they do that, they are asked to write the names of the scientists that they like the most and explain why. And it's amazing to see that now those unknown physicists, especially women, are well admired. So as time goes by and contents too, we work in different experiments, but at the same time, in many unconventional activities, where physics is applied, even though most of the students are really not sure of how it is connected. Let Him Walk is my favorite sophomore activity. Last year, because of the pandemic, it turned into Let Him Drive. The students were asked to use their phone sensors to study the motion of their cars and try to guess how far away from their houses one of the parents drove that day. All they had to use was the app Firefox that used the GPS to get the distance versus time graphs. This activity let them understand how GPS work and how the sensors in the phone go in hand with physics. A day in the waves is a practice we do together with junior students. In a field trip we have every year to the beach right before learning anything about waves. As they play for a while in the water with the beach ball, they do some recordings of the motion of the ball in the waves, and later they track its motion with the help of a tracking software. They work together in groups to find out the meaning of amplitude, wavelength, period, and many other concepts about wave motion. They come then to the conclusion that oceanography bases studies in physics and that studying it could be so fun. They finally create small talk videos for sophomore students explaining then what they learned during the field trip and how physics was applied. Best Score is an activity we do together with the physical education teachers who turn this practice into a sport competition among students. During their PE class, they are assigned to find out what is the best way to make a shot put ball travel the farthest distance. After many trials, they work together and find out that the greatest range is reached at 45 degrees. Later, we connect these results to the physics contents and we discuss together as a mixed class of how good it would be for athletes in our school to apply some physics in order to earn a gold medal. Do You Cook is another activity and is an activity I do with sophomore. Here, students are given different ingredients and are asked to melt them in the stove. While each ingredient is melting, they must record the temperature and the time it takes to melt completely, and then compare the results of each of the ingredients. Finally, as a class, we have a discussion of how important is physics while cooking. The Sound of Music is an activity where we use a traditional Andean flute that is called zampoñas. These instruments are provided to the students and they are asked to measure the length of each of the tubes. Then they have to blow them and record the frequency of each sound by using their phone with a tuner app that they have previously downloaded in their telephones. Together, they organize a small presentation for music teachers and primary students about the significance of understanding sound waves in acoustic music. There are several other experiences that many people will find unconventional for a physics teacher, and it will take me hours to explain, but all of them are focused on different aspects about physics that we can find in daily life, such as sports, music, cooking, and even ballet. Even though they are guided to be able to write a scientific report based on each practice, the most important thing is the myriad of abilities and skills they acquire in critical thinking and how they can transfer the knowledge in physics to other disciplines and sciences. In addition to these experiences, I would like to share with you what are some of the strengths that have facilitated me in the pursuit of knowledge, skills, and abilities. First, part of the advantage of working in a private institution are all the resources I have to hand. We have measuring instruments, vernier sensors, sophisticated equipment, and a good set of toys such as Legos and Kinects, which are enough to assure a good level of physics. However, added to that, nowadays technology has helped us doing some science experiences about lab without being in the lab room, only by using a phone, a tablet, or a computer. Considering that not all schools around the globe might have all the resources to their wish, I believe technology works to our favor as physics teachers, since there are always some ways to carry out scientific experiments to transform the way students see the world. Another strength is the fact that the school authorities are very open-minded about the crazy ideas I have sometimes with doing some science experiences. So if we're not for their good attitude toward innovative teaching, all of these things wouldn't be possible. Despite of all I have mentioned, there are plenty of limitations I face every year, weaknesses that are barriers for the development of skills by experience. First, one of the main problems is the time. Sophomore year at Ecuadorian schools only counts of 2 class periods every week. That added to the fact that there are several contents for a national syllabus that we have to cover makes doing unconventional practices and experiences way too difficult. Also, students at junior and senior year have 5 periods each week, and following an IB program in physics means completing several contents, prescribed practices, and additional activities. So it means that unconventional experiences are usually not a top priority. This takes me to a second limitation, and is that the last 2 years at high school, physics is an elective experimental subject, and students tend to select any other subject that look more applicable for their future career, ignoring the physics is actually everywhere. According to some of my former students, they believed physics was only theory and experiments such as what it is seen in television before starting a class with me. So changing this traditional mindset regarding to physics turned into an important priority during the sophomore year, with the need to show physics in a fun and relating way. That is how creating unconventional practices for these students, regardless of the time, becomes an opportunity to visualize physics less technical, less mathematical, and more appealing. Consequently, I believe that although we certainly have limitations at school, there are several more opportunities to our favor that allows us keep with this type of practices that will boost your vision of physics in real life situations. And I think that the biggest of all opportunities we have is that students who choose to study physics as an elective subject will become ambassadors to their classmates and explain why physics by triggering their passion for the subject and enhancing the skills they have. So, in other words, the best way to make students understand that physics can explain everything that surrounds them is by changing that technical and mathematical approach that traditionally have been given to the subject and try innovative method that will appeal students to understand the real significance of physics. Thank you.